Welcome back, Video Creeps! I just got some news about the sequel to the 2017 Netflix film, The Babysitter. Now, this was a film that I was super fucking excited for when it came out, and I ended up being a really big fan of this film. So I've been keeping up to date with this movie, just so that way I can bring you this video. And my friends, the time is right. So on this episode of Video Creep, let's go over everything that we know about The Babysitter 2. It's hard to believe that it's already been 3 years since The Babysitter came out. I remember watching it when it first came out and just walking away just fucking happy, just heart goo in my soul over this shit. But when I think back to it, it was just an exciting time all around. Stranger Things Season 2 had just dropped, the It remake was right around the corner, Get Out was doing successfully, we even got a brand new Chucky film that year. Shit was just popping in 2017. But we also saw the success of The Babysitter, the story of a satanic babysitter and her cult of naive teenagers who need the blood of the innocent Cole in order for them to be granted their wishes that they're trying to get fulfilled. However, this is the story of Colt learning to not be a pussy, and we see him fight back for the first time in his life, which is awesome! It's definitely one of the things that just hooked me right into this movie. In addition to that, I'm just a fan of Judah Lewis as an actor. I liked him in The Summer of '84, and I like him in this. He's a solid child horror actor. I know everybody's sucking Finn Wolfhard's dick all the time and shit, which he's great, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, don't sleep on my motherfucking boy. Now, he's able to defeat the babysitter played by Samara Weaving, and the movie ends with him declaring to his parents, "Yo, I don't need a babysitter anymore. Suck my dick, I'm grown." But since being hit by a car does not kill Samara Weaving, we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. She's able to get up and escape, and so we got a sequel, baby. So what do we know about The Babysitter Part 2? Now, the film officially went into production October 14th of 2019, and while we're getting back MCG as the director of this movie, the writers have changed. Brian Duffield wrote the first movie. However, in this one, we actually get a guy named Dan Lagana, who worked on another Netflix project called American Vandal, a making the murder mockumentary about a teenage boy who is kicked out of school for spray painting a bunch of dicks all over a bunch of different cars.
Seen images on 27 cars.
Oh my God.
I'll never understand what's so amusing about penises.
Everyone thinks I did it. Everyone.
Dylan definitely did it.
Of course he did it.
He's like a known dick drawer.
I saw the whole first season, it was awesome. Now, for a long time there were rumors that majority of the cast would be coming back for part 2. And according to the updated IMDb page, it looks like those rumors have been confirmed for part 2. Which, by the way, has been officially named The Babysitter Killer Queen. Now, I don't want to get into the name right now just because I think that name actually reveals some really cool crumbs that gives us an inside look at what we're getting into with this movie. But before we get into that, I actually want to just talk about what the plot of part 2 will be. So the plot synopsis that we have goes as followed. 2 years after defeating a satanic cult led by his babysitter B, Cole is trying to forget his past and focus on surviving high school. But when old enemies unexpectedly return, Cole will once again have to outsmart the forces of evil. So for me, that is really fucking exciting, because I really enjoyed the full cast from the first movie. So yes, much like all of you, I'm very curious as to how they're gonna bring these guys back. But underneath that curiosity is happiness.
I friggin' love you, man!
Like I said, I love the whole cast in this thing. And rare is it that I like an entire cast and I can't just suss out a weak link. Everybody did a good job. And I do have a theory that pertains to how these guys come back, but I'm gonna save that for just a little bit. You see, we got these first looks at what's gonna happen in this movie, and I wanna go over all of them, but I wanna go over this one in this moment. Now, thinking about what we learned in that plot, I think this picture perfectly shows how Cole was affected from the first movie. Now, I do think that this picture in particular might be a flashback of some kind, specifically because of like his sheets and shit. They're just a little fucking adolescent. If he's 2 years into high school and shit, I just imagine that he would be a bit more mature. But this look on his face, it looks concerned. I'm thinking that when I look at this picture, that it could be a part of a montage where maybe he's talking about not feeling safe and looking over his shoulder and shit, just waiting for fucking B to come back and just wreck his shit. Alternatively, this could be how the cult is reintroduced. Maybe they've been stalking him and this is the moment when they actually find him again. Or maybe they just remember where he fucking lived and he didn't move or something. These are the details that we don't know yet. But since this thing is coming out next month, September 10th, I'm willing to bet that we're going to be getting a trailer very soon. And I'm sure in it, it will allude to how these guys come back. And like I said, I have a theory, but before I can talk about that, I gotta talk about this, and that is that no matter how hard you look, Samara Weaving is not on the cast list for this thing. Fuck! She is the only character that is not confirmed to be in part 2, which is absolutely ludicrous until you actually think about it. Samara Weaving has been doing really fucking well the last couple of years, having supporting roles in Ash vs. Evil Dead, in the upcoming Bill and Ted 3. She even had a starring role in Ready or Not from last year, and in this year she had Guns Akimbo. My girl's on the rise, so it isn't completely surprising that she wouldn't come back for this. Now that is realistic, that's the real world. But if we're talking about this world that we built in the Babysitter 1, it makes absolutely no sense. Emotionally, the whole build-up, the whole reason why us as fans would want a part 2 is to see what would happen again if Cole and B were to bump heads again. Especially with Cole being older now. We crave that confrontation. That is the power that makes us want a part 2. Although, yes, the supporting cast was great. That's the fucking meat. And I think the writers already know that. There's no way that they're not gonna tackle that in some way. But the entertainment world is tricky, and boy do they love their secrets. So I don't put it past this production to keep it on the hush. So that way, the Babysitter gets a grandiose reintroduction, and we can feel the full weight of her return. And this for me is where the name comes into play. I think in the name itself, it confirms that we will be getting Samara Weaving back in this thing. This movie isn't called Babysitters with an S and shit, alluding that now the fucking cult will be the new Babysitters. This shit is fucking Babysitter Killer Queen, which again I think is revealing as to what we'll get in this movie, which is something that we didn't get in the last movie. And that is Samara Weaving's past. Sure, she has this satanic book, but where the fuck did she get it? I think upon watching the last movie, you actually start to piece those things together. She confirms and tells Cole that she has done this kind of thing in the past. She also tells him that at one point she was weak. But now, towards the end of that movie, we see that she's actually supernaturally gifted. She can get hit by a car, through a fucking house, and walk away a-okay. If I had to speculate as to what B is, I look at her as kind of a saleswoman for Satan. She recruits these naive, self-centered teenagers who want things like eternal youth and popularity. And with the promise of Satan's granted wish, they go along with it. And if that is the case, that would explain how this cult is able to come back for part 2. They didn't die in the first one because they can't. Now, it is totally possible that the Killer Queen could be referring to somebody other than Samara Weaving, but I just think that it's a little funny that we would call this thing Killer Queen, and her name is B, and there's a thing called the Killer Bee. I don't know, it just seems fishy. It just doesn't make sense for it to be anybody else. Now, we have a couple of first look pictures at some screenshots from this movie. So let's take a look at those together before we end this thing. Now in this first image, it looks like we have 3 of the returning cult members looking pretty fucking good. Even Bella Thorne's tit looks okay. No rope marks around this asshole's neck and shit. All three of these guys look like they got a complete reset. And it looks like they're definitely on some kind of beach or something. Maybe this is where they get resurrected, or maybe this is where they kidnap Cole and take him. I'm not sure, but I am very interested to see these guys together again. Also, just looking at this image, you kind of get a sense of that humor from the first one and the kind of banter that these guys have together. The spirit of the first movie is very alive in that first image. Now in the next image, you got Judah Lewis standing next to a girl holding a piece of paper, and it looks like they might be underground or something. We see that Judah already has like blood on his arms, and the girl looks pretty fucking banged up and shit. So this is probably a ways into the film already. Perhaps they're underground because they're hiding from the cult that is actively pursuing them. I think the most interesting thing about this picture though is the piece of paper that she's holding. When you zoom in and flip the image, you can actually easily read that it says demolition on the side that they're reading. So it looks like something is definitely going to be torn down in this as well. Or perhaps because they're trying to outsmart these guys, maybe they lead them into a building that's going to be demolished. I'm not sure, but I am very interested. But please remember that everything that I'm saying in this is just a theory. A video creep theory. Now in the next one, it looks like Judah and his girlfriend Melanie are still together. And it looks like Judah might not be able to drive anymore. I mean, fuck, in the last movie, he drove his car through a fucking house. There's got to be repercussions for that. I think the purpose of this image is just to show that they're still together and that they look happy. They look like maybe they're ready to tackle the new high school year together and shit. Cole looks pretty fucking dapper as well. Definitely opening movie stuff. Now in this last image, it actually looks like it could be one of two things. Either these are Judah and Melanie's friends, and maybe they're like poking fun at their relationship like immature kids do, or alternatively, these could be the new bullies that they face in high school, which I actually really hate that idea of Cole still having to deal with bullies even in high school, especially because we saw how far he came in the last movie. So I am hoping that these are friends and we're just catching them being dicks in the moment, but the expression on Cole and Melanie's faces just aren't that great, so I do think that these guys are going to be a problem. Also, something to note is that if this was a group of friends, the girl from the demolition photo is not in this picture, coincidentally. So guys, the Babysitter Killer Queen, are you excited for it? Let me know all of your thoughts and all your theories down in the comments section. If you know something that maybe I didn't go over, please let me know down there so that way we can chat about it. Plus, leaving me comments and likes helps build the video creep community, and it helps other people to find my channel. And while you're hitting the rounds to do things that are really cool to help me out, hit the notification bell so that way you know when my next video comes out. And as always, head to the description of this video where you'll find me on social media, and you'll find a link to Coffin Grounds, the #1 hangout place that I like to chill at when I want to talk horror. It's me and my buddy Brad Thornton's Facebook horror group, and it's stay poppin' all the motherfucking time. Again, thank you for staying all the way to the end of my video. If you're a new friend and you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We have a lot of fucking fun on this channel. And if you're still listening to me speak because you weren't a bitch and you stood till the end of the video, you fucking rock. That's gonna be it for this video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace, video creeps! This song goes out to my Patreons because you know that I love you. You know that I love you. This song goes out to my Patreons because you know that I love you. I fucking love you. Desmond Flicks, I motherfucking love you. Teddy Brown, I motherfucking love you. Sherry Sherman, I motherfucking love you. Splatter Vision, I motherfucking love you. Rebecca Reviews, you know I fucking love you. La da 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 da. Ooh, I fucking love you. Thanks for being my Patreon. Ooh, thanks for being my Patreon. Ooh, thanks for being my Patreon. Ooh.